Good morning and welcome today to ICA's online service. Before we dive in, here's a few things coming up that you should know about. ICA members, annual business meeting is coming up on April 24th at 6:15 p.m. via Zoom. All details will be sent to your email, so please check your inbox and spam. If you have any questions, send an email to inquire@icasby.com. Let's get ready for annual business meeting again. Interested in becoming a member of ICA? Our membership class will be happening on April 10th at 2 p.m. via Zoom. Join us then to learn more. You can find the meeting ID on our social media accounts during that week. ICA is pleased to announce we will no longer be requiring registration to check in to attend Sunday services. So come join us for in-person services every Sunday and invite your friends. ICA Kids will be reopening soon to in-person services. Parents, we will have an open house for ICA Kids on April 10th at 11:15 a.m. both east and west. This open house will be to familiarize parents and kids with our new facility and introduce them to the new check-in and check-out process. On the following week of April 17th, ICA Kids will reopen to in-person services at 10 a.m. every Sunday. For more information, check out @ICA Kids on Instagram. Come join us for the open house on April 10th. Easter is coming up at ICA. Join us as we kick off a new Easter series called The Door, starting on Palm Sunday, April 10th. It'll be followed by a Good Friday service on the 15th and Easter Sunday on the 17th. All three services will be happening at 8 a.m. Bahasa and 10 a.m. English, both for online and offline services. We can't wait to see you there. Okay, that's it for the announcements. Now grab your coffee and your notebook and let's join the service.
I want to welcome you all to ICA Online today. I'm Pastor John, and I just want you to know that I'm glad you could join us. For those of you who are ICA members, we want to remind you to read the email announcing annual business meeting on Sunday, April 24th, and we'll do it online. Check your spam folders and make sure you got the email and participate in nominating a candidate for ICA Deacon Board. For those of you who are wanting to get an overview of ICA and perhaps become a member, we're planning a membership class on Sunday, April the 10th at 2 p.m., and we'll do it online as well. Take advantage of the opportunity to become a member and then join us at ICA's annual business meeting. We're continuing our study of values for successful families this week. But today we're talking about the value of always telling the truth. But first, let's look at the pervasiveness of lying in our society today. And here's some statistics that I found. The first is this, that the average child begins to tell lies between the ages of 2 and 3 years of age. 9 out of 10 middle school age children admit to cheating on homework. Men on average lie 6 times a day. Women on average lie 3 times a day. Most common lie for men and women is I'm fine. 40% of resumes include lies. And 90% of profiles on dating sites include lies as well. So as we were looking at the statistics this last week, we found that there were plenty of statistics out there to indicate that people struggle to always tell the truth. The Bible records the origins of lying. In Genesis chapter 3, we read that God instructed Adam and Eve on how to live in the Garden of Eden. He told them that they were free to do whatever, but they must not eat fruit from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil that was in the center of the garden. Satan came to Adam and Eve and immediately questioned the truth of what God had said. Don't miss this. Satan is calling God a liar in Genesis chapter 3. Now remember, Satan had served in the presence of God. Satan uniquely knew the character of God. He knew that God is a God of truth, and yet he calls God a liar. Every time in Genesis chapter 3 that Satan speaks, he lies. The first lies come from Satan himself because Satan by nature is a liar. Jesus said of Satan in John chapter 8 verse 44, he, Satan, has always hated the truth because there is no truth in him. When he lies, it is consistent with his character. For he is a liar and the father of lies. Listen, you can never look to occultic sources like palm reading or astrology, tarot cards, Ouija boards, black magic, white magic, demonic power, or Satan himself and find the truth. Their very nature is to lie. They oppose the truth. When we lie, we are being like Satan. But we are called to be like Jesus, and he is nothing like Satan. In John chapter 1, it says, "And the Word, Christ, became flesh and lived among us, and we saw his glory. Glory as belongs to the only begotten Son of the Father, full of grace and truth, absolutely free of deception." Christians are called to be like Christ, full of truth and free of deception. In the Old Testament, God provided the foundation for kingdom culture and the basis for what we know today as Judean Christian law in the Ten Commandments. In Exodus chapter 20, verse 16, we read this, "You must not testify falsely against your neighbor." In other words, don't lie. Lying is an intention to mislead someone. When we tell a half-truth, we're telling a whole lie. We can lie by falsifying information, or we can lie by concealing it. We need to tell the truth completely. And one of the values for successful families is always telling the truth. Well, what motivates us to tell lies? Why do we lie? Well, I think there are 5 motivations for lying. The first is what I call the cruel lie, and it's motivated by resentment. This is the lie that is intentionally destructive and malicious. This is the lie we tell when we want to hurt someone. Often it's motivated by revenge. We misrepresent someone's character, and when we make up something about someone with the purpose of destroying their character or their reputation. Another word for that is just simply slander. The religious leaders told lies about Jesus. They said Jesus blasphemed God and the temple. They told these lies in order to get Jesus arrested and be killed. It was intentional, and it was just wrong. When I don't like someone, and I'm bitter or angry or hurt or whatever, and I'm resentful, and then it is easy for me to lie and get back at you. Never let resentment motivate you to lie about someone in order to hurt them or take your vengeance on them. The second is the cowardly lie, and it's often motivated by fear. This is when we lie to escape consequences or to avoid a punishment. We lie to protect ourselves and prevent ourselves from experiencing pain. Adam in the garden, Genesis 3, lied and blamed his own wife for his own sin. You know, when you say to your boss, maaf pak, saya lambat karena macet, we're lying because, we don't want to get in trouble with our parents or our teachers or our boss or our spouse. Whenever we fear man more than we fear God, we fall into a trap. In Proverbs chapter 29, verse 25, it says, fearing people is a dangerous trap, but trusting the Lord means safety. Never lie to avoid consequences. The third is the conceited lie, and this is motivated by insecurity. This is when we lie because we want to impress someone. Lying and bragging are first cousins, I would say. When we exaggerate to make ourselves look better, this is a conceited lie. It is motivated by our own insecurity. When you want to get to the core of pride and ego, you find an insecure person. The person asking the question, am I good enough, often covers it up with both pride and ego. But at the core is the issue of insecurity and fear. It's why 40% of people lie on their CVs, their resumes. The conceited lie is to create an image or to impress. But for us, we should never lie to make ourselves look good. The fourth is the calculated lie, and it's often motivated by selfishness. This is the lie that we tell in order to manipulate someone to get our own way. The calculated lie can be motivated by self-interest or even greed. I want it, so I'm going to lie to get it, is the attitude. Have you ever told someone, hey, it's 8:50 a.m., when in fact it was like 8:40 a.m., and you said it just because you didn't want them to be late and make you late? For those of you who are chronically late, you might be tempting people to lie to you. Don't be late, but also never lie in order to manipulate people to get what you want. The fifth is the convenient lie, often motivated by laziness. It takes effort to tell and explain the truth. Sometimes because we can be lazy, we may be tempted to say a convenient lie so we don't have to explain the whole thing. Sometimes we do this with our children, or when something bad happens and we just simply don't want to get involved. Your friend or your spouse comes to you and asks, how do I look? Now you know what a convenient lie is. We can try to pass it off as being diplomatic. It's how we get around offending people in social situations. Sorry, I can't make it because I have a family dinner tonight. When you really don't have a family dinner. Or I can't make it because I have to help my children with their homework. When you know very well that your child is going to do their homework just fine without you. I don't feel good. So then we don't show up to an appointment when, in truth, we feel just fine. Never allow laziness or the fear of offending someone to motivate you to lie. Jesus said that whatever is in our hearts comes out of our mouths. If my heart has resentment or fear or insecurity or selfishness or laziness in it, that can motivate us to lie. Psalm 34 verse 12 says this, does anyone want to live a life that is long and prosperous? Then keep your tongue from speaking evil and your lips from telling lies. How do I break the habit of telling lies? We need to admit to God we have been untruthful. We need to put action to the conviction that character is more important than reputation. Being truthful is an evidence of rich and deep character. Reputation is what we want people to believe about us. Character is who we really are. Reputation to impress people often is only temporary, but character impresses God and lasts for eternity. So how do I tell the truth? Well, first thing I would say would be tell the truth completely. Tell the truth consistently. Tell the truth lovingly. And tell the truth tactfully. But the first is this: tell the truth completely. Proverbs chapter 10, verse 10 says, "Someone who holds back the truth causes trouble." In family situations, when there is conflict, if you don't face issues honestly, you can run the risk of damaging your relationship or your relationship exploding. If you're not being honest about your feelings in your marriage, you are undermining your own marriage. God wants us to tell the truth and to tell it completely. Proverbs 28, verse 23 says this: "In the end, people appreciate frankness more than flattery." If an employee isn't getting the job done, it might not be fun, but the boss may have to address the issue. You might even have to fire someone. But not dealing with the truth and the reality of the situation only prolongs the problem. Addressing the issue gives opportunity for change. And then that change can shape character. I think we all can agree that in the job and on the work, in our work environment, or even in the school or at home, that honesty is the best policy. But when faced with potential conflict, sometimes we're not so sure if honesty is the best idea. God says in the end, people appreciate frankness and honesty. Tell the truth completely. Secondly, tell the truth consistently. In the United States, where I come from, we have a charita rakyat. It's like a modern parable, a story with a point to it. But the story's about a boy living with his family in the wilderness. Wolves are often a problem in the wilderness and could be dangerous. And usually you have to kind of tell people that there's wolves around and warn your family. So this boy had the job of, when he saw wolves, he would cry wolf. The problem was that there wasn't always a wolf, so the people stopped believing him. Telling the truth 80% of the time teaches people not to believe us. If they don't believe you and a wolf is in fact there, that's a dangerous position to be in. Likewise, not being honest 100% of the time is dangerous to our relationships and the issue of trust. Ephesians chapter 4, verse 15, "Instead, we will lovingly follow the truth at all times, speaking truly, dealing truly, living truly, and so become more and more in every way like Christ, who is the head of his body, the church." Honesty for the Christian needs to be our lifestyle. It is what makes families successful. To be trusted, you must be consistent in telling the truth 100% of the time. Proverbs chapter 13, verse 17, "An unreliable messenger can cause a lot of trouble. Reliable communication permits progress." Consistency in telling the truth causes our relationships to grow. If we're not making progress in our relationships or in our marriages, the truth is probably not always being told. If you want to keep your marriage out of the counselor's office or out of the divorce court, telling the truth 100% of the time builds strong families and will prevent disasters. But being honest doesn't mean being hurtful with the truth. So the third way that we tell the truth is that we tell the truth lovingly. Ephesians chapter 4, verse 15, it says, "Instead, by speaking the truth in a spirit of love, we must grow up in every way to Christ, who is the head." Don't use truth as a club and beat people over the head with it. If you're really wanting to help people change and move forward, we need to realize two things. The first is that people change easier and they change faster when truth is communicated in love. And secondly, truth without love is often seen as an attack, and people respond defensively and resist. So how do I know if I'm speaking the truth in love? Well, ask yourself the question, who am I trying to help? Am I trying to help myself or the other person? And if I can honestly say that I'm truly trying to help the other person because I want to help and I can communicate that effectively in a loving way, well, then I'm telling the truth in love. Ephesians chapter 4, verse 29, it says, "Don't use foul or abusive language. Let everything you say be good and helpful, so that your words will be an encouragement to those who hear them." Now look, you may be ready for a hard and a difficult truth, but sometimes other people are not as ready as you are to hear the truth, which leads us to the final way to tell truth, and that is this: tell the truth tactfully. Whenever you need to share a tough truth, you need to tell it completely, consistently, lovingly, and tactfully. Now, tact is an interesting word in English, but basically it's knowing the right words to use to deal with either difficult people or difficult situations. It is the wisdom to know the right words to say. Proverbs talks about it in Proverbs 12. Some people like to make cutting remarks, but the words of the wise, or the tactful, soothe and heal. We can hurt people speaking the truth, or we can heal them. Telling the truth tactfully means that we use words that heal and not hurt. We can develop or destroy people. We can build them up, or we can tear them down. But too often we can make our point, but in the process make an enemy because we're not being tactful. Tactfully share the truth in a way that heals and encourages. Proverbs 16, verse 23, "Intelligent people think before they speak. What they say is then more persuasive." So in other words, think through what you're going to say when you're telling a difficult truth. Choose the right place, choose the right time. Don't talk about difficult issues in public around everybody else and it's not their business. This is the wrong place. Don't confront with a difficult truth when you're tired and headed to bed. That will only start a war, I'm telling you. From experience, don't do that. Don't confront an issue when you are hungry. That's never a good idea. Don't confront an issue when you're rushed for time. That's bad timing. But with the right setting, the right timing, and in a loving attitude, I use the truth sandwich. It's where I start with something positive. Hey, great job. And then in the middle, I say the truth. Hey, but you're forgetting one thing. And then at the end, I start with the other good stuff. I say, but if you get this one thing right, we're going to be just fine. Tell the truth, but do it with tact. And then you'll begin to be a person of honesty. Jesus said that what is in our hearts determines what we say. In Matthew chapter 15, verse 19, from the heart come evil thoughts, murder, adultery, fornication, theft, lying, and slander. You know, truth-telling basically comes down to the condition of my heart. If my heart is full of resentment, hate, fear, worry, insecurity, low esteem or selfishness, greed or laziness, I'll find myself telling cruel lies or cowardly lies or conceited lies or calculated or convenient lies. You know, the only way to really stop lying is to get a new heart. And as we close today, how do we move forward as a family in the area of telling the truth? Well, the first thing I would say is make a decision to value truth-telling. And secondly, the beginning of honesty is to admit our dishonesty. Third, ask Jesus to forgive you and give you the power to change. Fourth, ask Jesus to give you a new heart. If you ask, he'll give it. 5, pursue character over reputation. And 6, get support by becoming accountable to someone. I want to ask you the question today, who are you failing to be honest with? Where are you holding back the truth? What are you pretending isn't a problem? Listen, God is calling us to be a people that 100% of the time we speak the truth in love. Let's pray together. Jesus, we admit that we are not 100% of the time honest. God, would you forgive us of our sins? God, would you give us a new heart that values truth-telling? Would you help us to pursue character over reputation? Would you help us to be accountable with someone for the truth? Would you help us to speak the truth completely, consistently, lovingly, and with tact? Would you bring health to our relationships and to our families at work or at school or at home by speaking the truth 100% of the time? Jesus, help us to be like you, to be a person of truth. I'm just going to ask that you raise your hands to receive the benediction this morning, wherever you're at, unless you're driving. John chapter 4, verse 24, it says this, God is spirit, and those who worship him must worship in spirit and in truth. ICA, go today under the watchful eye of God your Father. Go in the power of the Holy Spirit. Worship him in spirit and in absolute 100% truth. God bless. We'll see you next week.
Thank you for joining us today at ICA Online. We hope you had a great Sunday, and we look forward to seeing you again next week. ICA members, annual business meeting is coming up on April 24th at 6:15 p.m. via Zoom. All details will be sent to your email, so please check your inbox and spam. If you have any questions, send an email to inquire@icasby.com. Let's get ready for annual business meeting again. Interested in becoming a member of ICA? Our membership class will be happening on April 10th at 2 p.m. via Zoom. Join us then to learn more. You can find the meeting ID on our social media accounts during that week. ICA is pleased to announce we will no longer be requiring registration to check in to attend Sunday services. So come join us for in-person services every Sunday and invite your friends. ICA Kids will be reopening soon to in-person services. Parents, we will have an open house for ICA Kids on April 10th at 11:15 a.m. both east and west. This open house will be to familiarize parents and kids with our new facility and introduce them to the new check-in and check-out process. On the following week of April 17th, ICA Kids will reopen to in-person services at 10 a.m. every Sunday. For more information, check out @ICA Kids on Instagram. Come join us for the open house on April 10th. Easter is coming up at ICA. Join us as we kick off a new Easter series called The Door, starting on Palm Sunday, April 10th. It'll be followed by a Good Friday service on the 15th and Easter Sunday on the 17th. All three services will be happening at 8 a.m. Bahasa and 10 a.m. English, both for online and offline services. We can't wait to see you there. ICA Kids meet every Sunday online. Children's church materials you can do at home are available at bit.ly/ICA Kids online. Information about Zoom Hangouts can be found on their Instagram @ICA Kids. Giving to the ministry at ICA is easier than ever. Just scan the QR code with your mobile banking app or enter the account number on screen to make a transfer. Your generosity is what makes the ministry at ICA possible. If you need prayer, we want to pray together with you. Visit bit.ly/ICA prayer online and let's believe God together for a breakthrough in your life. ICA online prayer service happens every Tuesday night at 6:30 p.m. on Zoom. Check our social media on Tuesdays for the Zoom link information and gather with us to worship and pray together. Follow ICA social media on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Spotify. There you will find important information, devotions, playlists, and interesting content and updates for you.